では早速始めたいと思います。My name is Satoshi Nakagawa, and the title of the presentation is this: Crossroads of Legitimacy and Illegitimacy among the Ende people of Central Flores, Eastern Indonesia. Now, there are 4 sections with introduction and conclusion. That means only 2 sections, 2 main sections in this presentation. The aim of this paper is to, just a moment. To present 2 contrasting ways of transmission of knowledge among the Ende people of Central Flores, Eastern Indonesia, and analyze the social significance of them. First, let me introduce the Ende people and their culture. The Ende live in the central part of the island of Flores, Eastern Indonesia. They number around 50 to 70,000. The place is here. You can see Sumatra, Java, Bali, and then comes Flores, quite close to Timor and Australia. And this is Celebes, Sulawesi. Okay, they live in the central part of Flores in this small island. I started my fieldwork among the Ende people in 1979, which is about 45 years ago. And since then, I have been to Ende on and off until now. So there are lots of changes since then. In this presentation, I will use a period around 1990s and 2000s as my focal points. So let's go to the village. From the town, you go up the mountain. You can see the lots of mountains, and you can see also the sea. And you arrive at my village. And my village looked like that in 1990s. Okay, and the culture. They subsisted or lived on slash and burn agriculture, also known as shifting cultivation. Even though the influence of market economy was at that time already significant, the economy of the Ende people can be safely said to have been subsistence economy. As I told in the introduction, in Ende, one can discern 2 ways of transmission of knowledge. One is vertical, and the other is a horizontal one. First, in this section, I will deal with the vertical transmission of knowledge. Vertical transmission is spoken of in the idioms of the Ende kinship system. So I'll start my discussion of this section by focusing on kinship. In Ende, descent is counted patrilineally. That is, those who are agnatically related are counted as belonging to one and the same group. In the figure below, triangle represents male. And the arrows represent parent-son relationship. So all those people, all those males are agnatically related. So in theory, they belong to one and the same group. Okay, this is a patrilinearity. And the society is a patrilineal society. I was talking about patrilinearity in general. Now, we can say safely that Ende society is a patrilineal society in the sense that inheritance is patrilineal. Land, par excellence, is inherited patrilineally, such that a parcel of land is shared among the members of one patrilineal group. About land, people say, Kumaka kami kumatau ka kebitang minum. Kumambo okebe, we work only for eating, we make palm oil only for drinking, etc., etc. So land is inherited from ancestors, and it should be utilized only for subsistence. Thus, it is strictly forbidden to sell a parcel of land. Land is owned by a patrilineal group. One parcel of land thus owned is quite large, extending over a few desas. A desa is the smallest administrative unit in Indonesia. So one can safely say that kinship, or more particularly, patrilineal descent system, is the basis of agriculture, the subsistence economy in Ende. I said land is owned by a patrilineal group, but this does not mean that one parcel of land is inhabited only by members of the owning clan members. Actually, there are considerable number of outsiders living in the region. Those outsiders are allowed to work on the land insofar as they pay just a small tribute to the land-owning group, and they follow the ways of nature of the land-owning group. The first one, tribute, is just nominal, so just ignore it. We focus on the important condition, which is the second one, that is following the ways of ritual of the land-owning group. Now let me proceed to the ways of ritual in Ende. Slash and burn agriculture in general, consisting in performing rituals, as well as, of course, pragmatic activities. This is also the case with Ende's agriculture. Roughly speaking, the practical activities of slash and burn agriculture in Ende are as follows. First, they open the forest and then burn the forest, make it a field, and plant in the field, and harvest maize or rice. These are the photos of slash and burn agriculture. All those activities, all those practical activities are accompanied by various rituals. For example, first of all, they open the forest, but before opening the forest, they perform a ritual called kaki. The main purpose of kaki is to tell the residing spirits that they are going to open the forest. So don't get angry, that kind of thing, okay? And there are lots of small rituals that are performed in the field. Those are the rituals performed separately in each field. They are followed by two important communal rituals at the end of the agricultural cycle. For example, first of all, in April to May, they follow rituals of maize and rice, which are performed only by each clan. And finally, in July, they hold rituals of tubers, kauvi, marking the closing of the year. This kauvi ritual, rituals of tubers, is the greatest ritual and marks the region of the ritual domain called Tanaroro. So these are the photos of rituals. Okay, kaki, dera, and others are held by each household or lineage. All those small rituals are held in the field by each household. Usauta, for maize, and unotepiso are held by each clan now. And finally, the ritual of the tuber crops, kauvi, are held by members of the whole ritual domain of Tanadoro. These rituals are performed to enhance so one can say, to enhance the solidarity of patrilineal group at various levels, from lineage to clan to the ritual domain. See the table below. Okay, kaki and dera, etc. at the household level, notepiso at the clan level, kaubi at the ritual domain level. These rituals have been transmitted from generation to generation patrilineally. They serve to enhance the solidarity of patrilineal groups from household to the ritual domain. Now let us turn back to the transmission of knowledge. What is transmitted is a legitimate kind of knowledge, in the sense that it is regarded central, authentic to the society. Such knowledge as wordings of ritual chants, so to be recited on occasions for dera offering to the ancestors. Let me quote the almost formulaic opening of Ende's ritual chant. As usua unautekedi pamapikajo ambaamine. All these rituals originate at the primordial time. We have been passing these rituals on since ancient times. We have grasped the layers, protect the parents. Okay, so rituals are transmitted from father to son, from layer to layer, from generation to generation, accompanied by the legitimate knowledge of rituals. It is an inheritance of knowledge, the kind of knowledge which resides in the center of the Endenese cosmology. So vertical transmission is, so to speak, the transmission of legitimacy within the kinship system. The sole purpose of the ritual is to enhance the solidarity of patrilineal groups at the various levels. Now, the next section. Now we're proceeding to the next section. The second section deals with the other way of transmission of knowledge. It is a horizontal transmission, as I told you. Horizontal transmission can be contrasted with vertical transmission in several respects. The most striking contrast is to be found in the natures of the knowledge concerned. The vertical transmission or inheritance has to do with a legitimate kind of knowledge, whereas the horizontal transmission, which we have to deal with in this section, has to do with illegitimate kind of knowledge, a socially unapproved kind of knowledge. Legitimate knowledge has been transmitted from father to son, while illegitimate kind of knowledge transmitted from seller to buyer horizontally. Horizontal transmission of knowledge is spoken of in the idioms of non-kinship, in the idioms of buying and selling, not inheritance or sharing. Whereas vertical inheritance is group-oriented, horizontal transmission is actually individual-oriented. One behaves selfishly in a way in horizontal transmission. Horizontal transmission is, in a word, transmission outside of legitimacy. So let us summarize this way: vertical, horizontal, legitimate, illegitimate, keen and non-keen, group-oriented, individual-oriented. This kind of transaction, that is buying and selling, does not occur in the legitimate sphere of the Endenese culture, that is the sphere of kinship. Buying and selling are to be performed between non-kin, between strangers. So buying and selling is a kind of transaction to be found typically in weekly bazaar, Indonesian pasar. At a bazaar, one sees strangers, which is a rare occasion among the Endenese, whose social world actually consists of relatives mostly. At a bazaar, one buys and sells things with the strangers. In these transactions, of course, the participant's purpose is obvious: to gain individual profits. They are so selfish that they sometimes cheat and tell lies. Oh, this is cheap. This is cheap. Oh, this is very good. And actually, they are bad and they're not so cheap. But anyway, that's the kind of transaction you expected in Pasar. So now let us turn to what is transmitted in the horizontal mode of transmission, a bazaar-like transmission transaction of illegitimate knowledge. And in Ende, the idea of legitimacy revolves around the kinship ideology, as I told you, while that of illegitimacy, not socially approved values, revolves around the idea of witchcraft. This subsection deals 3.2 with the Endenese idea of witches at the border and the related idea of brave ones, the Keruku, which is a prototype of the evil, the antisocial being in Ende, which is imagined to have a humanly appearance, but have a substance called Vara, instead of an ordinary soul, which is called Maya, which is body, Vara leaves the witch's body and visits the victim and does harm to him. A witch in this way attacks someone because of, people say, jealousy, greed, and such personal and antisocial feelings. The victim then suffers misfortunes, disease, and sometimes death. A witch, at Polo described above, is as it were defined in physical terms. In this way, one is a witch whether one wants to be or not. But there is a category of human beings, or quasi-human beings, similar to witches in Ende, defined not in physical terms, but defined in terms of knowledge. A person called Tukeruku is described in similar terms to those used for witches. A Tukeruku has power to attack people so as to cause misfortune to the victim, of course, to death to the victims too. The difference is that the difference between Atporo, witch, and Tukeruku, brave one, is that one becomes Tukeruku willingly. In this subsection, I will deal with a kind of knowledge which is supposed to give power to both witches and brave ones. Here I pick up one such type of knowledge called the mothers, Ine, and explain it in some details. In the Ende cosmology, everything or phenomenon is said to have a mother. Ine. If one knows the name of the mother of a certain thing, they say, then one can have a full control over that thing. So, for example, if one knows the name of the mother of maize, you are sure to have a good harvest of maize. Furthermore, you can command maize in someone else's field to flee from there so that the owner of the field will get bad harvest. Diseases have their own mothers too. So if one comes to know the name of the mother of disease, then one can cause that disease to other persons. And there's only one way of acquiring this kind of knowledge, and that is one has to buy better knowledge. A scenario of acquiring this kind of knowledge goes like this. It's a very long one, so I will skip this. But anyway, there is a special way of buying knowledge from the one who knows. Okay, and this is the only way. You cannot be given, you cannot inherit the knowledge. You have to buy the knowledge. So to acquire illegitimate knowledge, such as mothers, there is only one way, to buy it. The purpose is to increase one's wealth. In this way, he is selfish. Let us summarize what was described above. In Ende, there are two ways to be wealthy. Described above. Let us summarize in somewhat differently. One way is socially approved way, and the target is to be satisfied more via agriculture supported by Nuatanawa, rituals of London rocks. Thus, knowledge of rituals of London rocks is essential to this type of wealth. The other is a socially unapproved method, and the target is described as to be rich, abundant, via esoteric knowledge. So vertical one is legitimate among kin and inherited and shared. And horizontal one is about legitimate, illegitimate knowledge among non-kin, transacted among non-kins, and the transaction is done by the way of buying and selling. So one can say that the theme of the culture of Ende is a struggle between the good and the bad, like a Lord of the Ring. Thus, and the person is always standing, as it were, at the crossroads between legitimacy and illegitimacy. Thanks very much for listening. Goodbye. Can stop sharing? Anyway, okay. Thanks very much. Can you tell me how to stop sharing and back to the normal place? Okay, stop recording.